10 years ago, I told her I loved her. She said she felt the same. But we were young. We'd wait. Get into the Ivy League first, then figure us out. A few days later, she climbed into some rich kid's car. I ran after her. She got out, looked at me, and said cold as stone, "Your love is worth nothing. Richard Gilbert can make me somebody. Even if all he wants is to use me and toss me, I'd rather be his toy living in luxury than be loved by someone whose love means nothing." I stood there frozen for a long time. Then Richard told his driver, "Run him over. We'll fake the insurance claim." The Bentley revved. My legs gave out. I dropped to the pavement. Richard got out, put his arm around her, and looked down at me. Heh, poor people. She gave me one long look. Forget about me. 10 years later, I came back to the city as a real player in business. A class reunion got booked at my private club, and I saw her again. I picked up Obsidian Club when I first got back to Brookhaven. Needed somewhere to host the city's power players. Profit wasn't the point. The place was a filter. 9 figures of net worth, or real political pull, or you didn't get through the door. Today's guest was a special one. Lucius Donaldson, the senior official running Brookhaven's economic development. He didn't drink, just tea, and nothing fancy. A few minutes of easy talk, and we'd locked in a deal north of 10 billion. He took a call from City Hall. Not my place to hover. I stepped out. That's when my assistant came down the hall. Heels clicking, that tight pencil skirt turning every step into a slow sway. Shalog had the kind of face you'd swear was on TV, and a body to match. No matter how many times you'd seen her, you looked twice. Mr. Swanson, some developer's son just showed up in the Lakeview suite downstairs. Worth your time? Her voice was sweet and soft. I glanced back at the room. Lucius was still on his call. I thought for a second. Sure, let's go. Lucius's calls always ran half an hour minimum. I couldn't just stand around. And if Shalog came to tell me herself, whoever was down there carried weight. Worth a look. I grabbed a decent bottle of wine and headed down to the Lakeview suite. Knocked. "Come in," someone called from inside. I pushed the door open and walked in with a polite, distant smile. Before I could say a word, I froze. People I knew. People I'd known half my life. And they looked like strangers now. The seat facing the door was the head of the table. And sitting there, naturally, was the guy with the most clout. Richard Gilbert. 10 years had gone by, but I still thought about it sometimes. That Bentley's engine. Me dropping to the ground. Those 3 words of his. Poor people. And then I saw her. Bridget Pruitt. The girl who told me my love was worth nothing. Was sitting right beside Richard. A doll pretty little girl in her arms. 5 years back, I'd run into Bridget once in the Capitol. She'd been at some business dinner, getting pressured to drink. She refused. Someone slapped her across the face. I stepped in and got her out. She said she wanted that drink after all. Half drunk, she told me. She could drink herself stupid on her own terms, but she'd never let anyone else force her to. That was dignity. That was her line. But she was the same girl who told me my love was worth nothing. Who'd said she'd rather be kept and toyed with in luxury. So what happened in those 5 years? Where did the sudden dignity come from? I asked her what her line was worth. "Name a price, I'd pay," she cried. Then, stubborn as ever, she scrubbed the tears off hard and said there was no price. It was mine for free. I told her, "If you're offering, I'm taking." That night, I took her home. When I woke up, she was gone. I thought about going after her. Even thought about throwing my pride out and crawling back. In the end, I let it go. Later I left the Capitol. Figured she was still there building a life. Never thought she'd come back to Brookhaven too. "Mommy, Daisy wants shrimp." The little girl spoke up. "And she was married?" "She'd married Richard?" Richard said. "Come here, Daisy. Daddy'll get you some." He shot me a look first. Deliberate jab. Then turned to Bridget and kept his eyes there. "Old classmate. Been what, 10 years? Heard you got into an Ivy League school back then. How'd you end up a waiter?" Richard set a piece of shrimp on her plate. When he looked back at me, his face was pure mockery. "Almost 30, and still waiting tables. You're supposed to be a man, Tony."